say this with all due respect. This is about one of the dumbest Christian things that I've heard in a long time. This person is saying in my video, based on why was Jesus created, that Jesus is the first God who sacrificed himself for his creation instead of the creation and having to make sacrifices to it. Now that, first of all, is not true. Not true at all. Um, the idea of sacrifices, you're looking at that from only a standpoint of religions that you may have studied or may possibly have not studied. But the religion / philosophy of Buddhism does not require any sacrifice of anything whatsoever. And although it doesn't have a primary God sense, it has a sense of developing yourself to become the greatest human being you possibly can so that you can reach the attainment of enlightenment and have the Buddha mind and go back into a higher form. So to say that it's the first one that doesn't require that is not true. Plus, you have to make a sacrifice of your communion of eating his body and drinking his blood, which is a sacrifice that you have to make. So that part doesn't work out at all. You might need to think about that. You can even look at Jainism and other religions like Taoism and Shinto. You don't have sacrifices that you make to your gods. Now, you're saying that if that doesn't gain my trust then go find a God to sacrifice to. If I had to sacrifice anything to any God, then that would not be God. Because any God that requires a sacrifice, and even worse, a human sacrifice of himself to himself, is one of the worst things that I can think of that a God would ever request or even offer. The fact that your God originally offered and desired and wanted animal sacrifice, child sacrifice, the fact that he wanted bread sacrifice and wine sacrifice and all these other wheats and things of that nature, your God has wanted sacrifice from the very beginning. And all he did was transform his sacrificing of animals to a human sacrifice. And mainly because it was something new, different, going out of style for the Mediterranean people. But if you go beyond the Mediterranean people, then you start to see you see a whole hell of a different story. And then you say that Jesus is the best concept of God we've ever had, even if he turns out to be a myth. I'm going to let you soak on that one for a minute. Here you are, a Christian, saying that even if he turns out to be a myth, he gives you hope and transformation and change to the human heart. If that doesn't sound important, then you go do you. I will do me. Because the fact of the matter is this. The only reason you believe that he gives you hope and a change of heart is because you were born into this religion or you were surrounded by this religion. And so you naturally went towards this religion to believe that it's true. I can look at any religion that any man has ever created, and in 90% of those religions, people had to have some level of a circumcision of the heart in order to fall into that religion. You couldn't just practice the Greek religion and just be some warmongering hell spawn. There was piety involved. You couldn't practice the Kemetic religions. You had to maintain the 42 confessions of Ma'at. You couldn't practice Ifa and go around bludgeoning people and essaying people. You had to practice being a great person, a better person. In this religion, it is you satisfying your dharma, your past sins from past lives, so that you can rise up to a level where you can join into the Brahman. Every religion, for the most part, has levels of growth where you obtain enlightenment, where you obtain piety. To think that your religion is the only one that has ever given hope to people, that has ever transformed people's mind, is one of the most narrow views that I've seen in a very long time, because that just demonstrates that you've never taken the time to look at other religions, never taken the time to study other religions, to see what type of transformations people have had from other religions. People have gotten off of alcohol, have repented from sins of murder and theft, have stopped beating their spouses, treating their children unkindly. From pretty much every religion, people have found peace and solace within those religions. So the fact that you make this statement just shows that you are emotionally tied to this religion to such a degree that it does not allow for critical thinking. Because as I said before, you can go and follow Islam and you have to become a better person, treat mankind differently. It has its faults, many of them, but it still has the same thing that Christianity offers: a pathway to God, a pathway to hell. But at least in their hell, after a certain amount of time, you are freed from that hell. The Indus religion offers a pathway to God, a pathway to a version of heaven, and a pathway to damnation and torment. Ifa offers the same thing. Voodoo offers the same thing. Santeria offers the same thing: pathways to heaven and pathways to hell. The ancient Aztecs had pathways to multiple heavens and multiple hells. So your religion is nothing special. You deem it special because you believe that your God sacrificed himself for you. And so for you, a human sacrifice is the ultimate expression of love. No, the ultimate expression of love based on your Bible would be that if your God forgave his first children for their disruption, for their rebellion, an ultimate display of love would be that if your God had a pathway that even when a person dies, that they can still serve a penance and then be reclaimed by your God to live in bliss and love and peace and happiness. That would be the ultimate idea of love, not worship me, believe in me, or be punished for all eternity. That's not love, not love at all. That is someone who is controlling. An insecure, controlling, narcissistic behavior is what that displays. But you have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.